Hello again. So as I'm working on the amp rack, I'll call it, I decided to make another change. So there was an earlier video that shows what this would look like, on the angle with the etched plexiglass cover on the angle. So what I'm gonna do is I don't know how, but I completely forgot that I had a linear actuator that I was going to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the design again. I'm going to still use the same panel, but instead of having it angled, I'm going to keep it flat like that, and then underneath will be the amp rack, and the amp rack will be flat this way. And what I'm planning on doing is using the linear actuator to have the amp pop out. There's plenty of space here for the amp to pop out. I have the linear actuator. I've got the control unit. I decided to get a control unit instead of just a basic switch. Then I've got the rails, I guess I'll call them. So what I'm hoping to do is have a little bit simpler design, and I'm hoping that there's enough space in the slot here to be able to mount the actuator. I mean, there should be, and I should have a little bit of wiggle room back and forth to where I could have the actuator extend out and not have to do a lot of adjustments. So what I mean by that is the throw of the actuator, you can obviously adjust, and the control unit makes it pretty easy to do that. But since I've got some room, it's just as easy to just make a little bit of adjustment, an inch here, an inch there, so that it travels very cleanly, and not have to worry about it either way. But that's the new plan. I'm going to get started on making a couple changes to the amp rack, and I'll take some videos along the way to show some progress. I still have to, these are all loose. The side panel over there is not in. The replacement one that I put over here is in. And as you can see, the plan, if you can see the distance between that mount is where the target top mounts. And as you can see, there's a couple inch difference, and that's by design. So these shallow mount JL Audio subwoofers only have a depth of like 4 5/8 or something like that. So it's very, very slim, and obviously the speakers are on top of the subwoofer enclosure at the moment. But the plan is that once this is all done and flat, there'll be a beauty panel over everything with grills that are accented, and I still have some plexiglass rings that I'm going to edge light around the subwoofers, and what do you call it? Mount from underneath, and with the panel on the top, it'll all look like it's all one piece, even though it's put together in a couple pieces for now. The plan is also to use some of the contours of the car. Obviously there's a gap here because this is a square enclosure. There's a little bit of gap here, a little bit around here, then this goes down a little bit, and so the plan is that the top panel, at the moment at least, I think, is not going to be square. It would follow the contours of the edges, because I've got this slope, and it comes out to like here, so that's about level right there. So you can see there would be a gap you know, here along the way. So I think I'll try my best to cut pieces of cardboard or paper to use as a template for the edges. Maybe if I do one side, the hope is that it should translate perfectly to the other side. But that's when I get to the beauty panel stage. I have all the wires I still have to run. I mean, I'm sorry, not run, but route properly and secure. Right now they're just loose. I have some excess wire for the amp rack, the speakers, and the LEDs. So at the moment, the only LED light that I have temporarily installed right now is for around the JL Audio etch plexiglass window. I do have some bigger sheets of plexiglass, and what I'm hoping to do is, if the plexiglass jigsaw cooperates that I have and I take my time, what I want to do is I want to use maybe a 3/4 inch piece of wood as a trim panel, or maybe 5/8. I'm not exactly sure. But the point is that it would fit perfectly around this subwoofer enclosure, the subwoofer speaker grill or mount, I guess, if you will. As you can see, it's a little bit of a unique shape because they're built so you can mount them right next to each other if you really wanted to. But the plan is then to oversize that a little bit, that opening, so the actual beauty panel would be, you know, maybe this far out, but there would be a plexiglass, it would look like a plexiglass ring, perfectly cut as well, hopefully, around the subwoofer enclosure, and maybe that would come out to right there and leave just a little bit of a gap between the subwoofer and the plexiglass. And then underneath that panel, you know, it would be mounted from the bottom, and then underneath the panel, around the plexiglass ring, I would run the same color LEDs as I do for the JL Audio etch light. So, and I could put it on another switch. I've got plenty of switches, but you know, the plan would be, the thought would be, when I turn on the lights, the two subwoofer plexiglass rings would edge light and show a little bit of an orange glow, and then the JL Audio logo would show a nice orange glow. Right now, the whole thing turns up orange because I don't have it blocked off underneath, so it's lighting, you know, like the whole thing. But the plan would be is to truly edge light it so that primarily just the logo shines up in orange. So that's as far as I'm planning on using LEDs in the hatch subwoofer enclosure here. So I've got to run those wires, and I'm not sure where I'm going to mount the switches for inside the car. I don't want to cut up the car, so I'm thinking maybe in the glove box. I mean, this isn't going to be something where I really need access to turn on and off very much, right? I mean, this is just, you know, at a show. I mean, the window is tinted as it is. I don't want to, I don't know if I'll get a ticket or something if I drive around with it that way at night. But in any case, I don't know where I'm going to mount the switches for the LEDs and the actuator actually has a key fob, so I don't have to worry about that switch too much. And I don't know what other switches I might need to put in, but at the moment I'm thinking maybe just mount it in the glove box, cut a little bit of piece of ABS, make a little panel, and then mount a couple switches, call it a day. So the only other LEDs, so there might actually be a couple of more switches, because since this is a wide body Corvette, I've got these really cool deep scoops here in the front on the side, And although this has nothing to do with the stereo, I'm just showing because I might run them at the same time. The switches, you know, different switches. I've got, you know, this big scoop here. The door's open, so you can't see the depth of the scoop, but I've got this scoop there, this nice scoop there. I've got these big scoops there. Maybe there's a way where I can get inside of there and run, you know, the same color LED, and it would actually, you know, show a little bit of that light coming through, you know, from the back. And then the hoods, I got this custom carbon fiber hood here, this SS supercharged hood. But in the front, you know, there's another grill. The nose, the nose on this Supervettes, they use from a ZR1. So this is a factory ZR1 nose, I believe. I'm not an expert on this Supervette, but anyways, maybe lighting that up. You know, maybe around the grill in the front. You know, maybe have these two on the same switch. Maybe have everything on the same switch. I don't know. I think I can hook up with the draw. I mean, it's a very small amp draw. I think, you know, say there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of LEDs. I mean, I should be able to hook up, you know, twice as many to the same switch if I really want to do power source too. But in any case, here's a, you know, the scoop, front, scoop on the side. I can't remember if there's actually one back here. No. But anyways, that's the other thing that I'm gonna most likely put some LEDs in at some point. I don't know if I'll get to it with the stereo install. It's when you work all day and then you come home, it's not the first thing you want to do. So the other thing I wanted to mention is I did pick up some of these guards for the car. I've got one for the back too, because it's got this custom wing. I'm really reluctant to lean over from the back. I don't want to break it or snap it off, but I suggest if you have a car and you're working on it like I am, even though if you're very careful, you know, you can somehow leave a screwdriver in your pocket, or gosh forbid a utility knife or something when you're working on a car, and you know, you lean over for a second and you know, you end up scratching the side of your car. So that obviously could still happen with these, you know, somewhere else in the car, but give yourself a chance, spend the $40. You'll have them forever, and it'll help protect your car. I've got one for the front as well, but just an FYI from if it helps. So I'm gonna get started. Luckily I don't have to redo a lot of the stuff. I mean, the pieces that I was using to mount this amp rack were scrap. It's not like I'm using a full set of wood for us, but you know, that piece, you know, the mounts, I mean, I should be able to easily remove those and make some new ones and turn this thing into a square, I guess a big rectangle, and go from there. So I will keep you posted. Okay, it's me again. About 10 minutes have gone by since I last videoed saying what my new plan was going to be. I got a little overly excited about using the linear actuator, so I jimmy rigged it right now, hooking it up temporarily just to check out to see how it works. And with the controller, I've never had a controller before. I've always... So I have not tested it yet. I am going to test it for the first time. I believe all I need to do is push a button. Let's see, hopefully this won't move while I'm doing it. Ah, look at that. think it's 9-inch. Okay, and then the down button works. I think it stops if I do it again. Yes, it does. Perfect. Look at that. Have a nice remote instead of just without the box, instead of just hooking it up directly to a switch and then having to sit in the car or lean over the car and just click it. I can be outside the car and show somebody. They can walk up and I can be real cool and just hit the button in my pocket. Very cool. I'm happy. So now, got to get it installed.